Thank you for joining me on this very hot day in Kansas. We are approaching the real Kansas in the summer, 100 degrees-ish or so. I had to laugh yesterday. We were having a Zoom staff meeting, and Alex, who joins us from Cleveland, had on a sleeveless dress, and she said, yeah, it's going to be 90 today. And I said, well, you're 10 degrees cooler than us, so everybody's always shocked at how hot we are. But I love summer, and I'm going to talk about some summer things today. But first of all, I want to remind you about our June So Confident class. And we are making the Edgewater dress, which is right here. I've talked about this before. We're using a combination of jersey knits and a woven panel. Now, a little kit update. As you know, I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. And we had engaged a company on the East Coast to make our kits. And they did a really good job for the first time they did it, which was May. But unfortunately, we did not get the kits on time for June. But we have confirmation that the kits were shipped from South Carolina yesterday. And we should have them with any luck by the end of the week. And so we will be scrambling really hard to get them out to you by the first of the week. So I am very, very sorry. We are so apologetic. We're embarrassed about all of this. This is the first time we have not been able to fulfill our promise of having kits by the first of a month. And I'm really very sorry about that. The good news is that we already know what August project is, and we already have the kits cut and in the bags and ready to go. We did that ourselves in-house, so we're back to doing them in-house for a while at least. And the good news is that for your August kit, you'll get them right on time. So we are raring to go again. And you'll get notice about that. I'm very excited about the project for August. I'm filming the video tomorrow. So I've made it a couple of times. Erin's made it a couple of times. And it's very cool. All right. Just a few little notes. If you happen to be visiting New York between now and the middle of February of 2023, you must go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and view their kimono exhibit. I've seen photos of it. Sharon Scalise sent me an article about it, and it looks fabulous. And I happen to be going to New York in July, and that is on my list to do. So I'll report back. But as you know, the kimono is sort of the silhouette that all designers have studied and used somewhat throughout so many. It's been an influential silhouette to so many designers for lots and lots of years. So anyway, I can't wait to see it. All right. If you are going into any cocktail parties anytime soon and you need a few little tidbits of great information when the conversation gets a little bit stalled, I'm going to give you a few. There are quite a few. Of course, you know I'm the Wall Street Journal fanatic, so I'm going to read you a few, and I think these are hilarious. So Coco Chanel once tried to set her arch rival Elsa Schiaparelli on fire at a costume ball by dancing her into a lit candelabra. The young Lee Alexander McQueen used his middle name for his fledgling fashion house so he could keep collecting unemployment benefits as Lee McQueen. I thought that was interesting. But this is very interesting, actually, in that consumers buy 5 times more clothes today than they did in 1980. Now, we are sewers, so I don't think that necessarily applies to us, but I bet if we really are honest with ourselves, we're probably buying more clothes than we used to, and we don't need to because we know how to make them. Just yesterday, I talked to someone who, Linda Wardlow actually, who is back from her trip to Santa Fe, and of course she went into the really fine shops there and looked at clothes, and she looked at a very expensive blouse and had it in her hand, was kind of walking up to the counter to pay for it, and said to herself, oh no, I can make that. That's the cottage shirt or whatever it was from the sewing workshop. So she put it down, walked out of the store, came home, and she has a cutout. So we as sewers have that advantage. So also in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago, there was this article about the new formal. What do people do with their suits and ties and that whole business attire thing in this new business casual era? And the attics and basements are full of men's suits primarily that really no one is wearing much anymore. And if you were to look on Etsy and search for recycled items, there are 10,000 search results of men's suits that have been made into pillows and miniskirts and capes and grief quilts and more. So obviously, suits are fabric, and if you're willing, they're great things to cut up and make into something else. But better yet, and this is true when I am studying fashion, the sites as I love them, the men's suit jacket is the look of today. This oversized jacket. And it's interesting, when I was in Santa Fe and I was trying on some jackets and things in the stores I was in, all the jackets were super big, super oversized, long sleeves, and that is the look. You wear them with jeans, slim pants, simple t-shirt. So, if you can't cut up that man's suit jacket, well, just put it on and roll up those sleeves and stick a handkerchief in the pocket and go on your merry way. But I decided to make one. And I do have some travel coming up this summer, July, August, and September. And when I travel on an airplane, I like to wear a jacket. And I like a jacket that has pockets, and I like something that's oversized, and I like something that's already wrinkled so that I don't really have to worry about how I'm going to look either before I get on the plane or when I get off the plane after I've slept for 6 hours or whatever it is. So that reminded me that a few years ago, not very many years ago, I don't know why I say a few years ago, I made a denim Chicago jacket. And I think a good word for this is like a boyfriend jacket. That's the term that we're using now. And one of the things I liked about this Chicago jacket, this particular one, is that I added some shirting piece details. So there's a new band down the front that's pieced in shirting stripes. And where we put the button placket, I've put the little tab that goes normally on the inside of the jacket on the outside of the jacket. The pockets that are normally on the inside of the jacket are now on the outside. And I faced the sleeves and added an inside yoke and concentrated on some nice top stitching. I remember when I made this jacket, I wanted to work out all of the engineering of these pieces and parts. And so I made a little Bible, so to speak, of techniques so that I knew exactly what I was doing before I ever got into making the garment, including practicing a lot of different top stitching techniques, the right needle, the right weight of thread, what bobbin thread to use, what stitch length to use. So I had everything worked out before I even had to really get into the making of this jacket. We happen to have a tutorial on how to make this jacket start to finish. And it is called, I think, the Denim Chicago Jacket. But the Chicago jacket in a lightweight summer fabric, such as a rumpled linen, is just perfect. It's the kind of fabric that is already washed, laundered, it's already crumpled, rumpled, and the more rumpled it is, the better it gets. So what do you wear under it if you're traveling? Well, in my opinion, you wear something like the Maison top. So I have both of these garments on, but here's the Chicago jacket. Before I get into the Maison, I want to tell you about a few more elements about this. This has a really interesting sleeve detail. It's not a set-in sleeve, so you don't have to worry too much about how this fits right at this edge. But this sleeve has a nice point to it, and so the shoulder seam is curved and becomes part of the sleeve seam. That is a detail straight out of Ronalda Chamask, a great designer. There are no facings to this garment. Instead, there are some narrow hems. This little narrow hem dies into this collar seam. There are darts right here at the bust, and if you are considering this as a true bust dart, then you want to either raise it or lower it wherever the fullness on you is. This is the little reinforcement tab that I was talking about that holds the buttonhole and button that on the denim one I put on the outside. This is a bust dart that dies into a seam that has this nice pocket that is sewn to the garment, which I like. So that pocket's not flapping and moving on the inside of the garment. This is a seam that's curved that also connects to this top stitching of the pocket. So this whole connection right here is really an interesting piece. And there's no side seam, no back seam, just these sleeve seams that you see. And a simple collar that's very easy to put on, no stand. So it's been one of my favorite jackets for a long time. I chose to wear it over the Maison top because this is loose fitting and just that really comfortable kind of shirt to wear, particularly when you're traveling or you just want to be super, super comfortable. It does have a fairly low arm's eye and a fairly large sleeve. And that's one of the reasons I like this Chicago jacket, is that there's plenty of room in this sleeve for the sleeve of the Maison top. Now, I have on Hudson pants. You know, I've been wearing these pale blush pink Hudson pants, I think, for like 3 weeks now on Facebook Live. Obviously, they're my favorites. I don't know, this blush pink goes with everything. But included in the Maison top pattern are the Maison pants. And there's nothing wrong with making these as well for that super comfortable travel ensemble. Now, I have some buddies who are from, let's see, New York area, New Hampshire, or, oh gosh, I've forgotten. Abby, I can't remember whether you're from New Hampshire or Vermont, Washington, D.C., Florida, Houston, and they get together once a month and visit, and I get to join them every once in a while. And Linda D'Amato from New York area is getting ready to make these, actually sent me a link to a pair of Maison pants that were in a woven, and you can do that. These happen to be in a cotton knit, but they're clearly built so that you can make them in a woven fabric. And in fact, you can use them in something silky, so they can be even dressy. Now, the only thing about that is that there is a bottom band, and this is fairly narrow, so you would want to use something stretchy for the band part, or leave the band off and make them a straight leg. But either way, this is a fun pant to wear for travel. It is an elastic waist, but it also has the shoestring that we use that becomes the drawstring tie. And we have a few colors of these drawstrings, shoestrings on our website. All right, so we have a class, I think. Yes, we have a whole workshop on making this top. Was it Series 10?
Yes.
Yes, so yes, Series 10, so confident. I think it was January, the very first one. But it teaches you how to sew this garment from start to finish. Normally, we make a little neckband that's about a ½ inch wide. This one's a little wider than that, and I give you some tricks on how to get that to lie flat. Putting this band on, I've learned something about this band. Our first rendition of this pattern had this band 2 inches bigger. And for some reason, I made the decision to take 2 inches off and make it a little bit smaller. But I kind of regret that in a way, because actually now that I make it, I add that 2 inches back into the band. So that band does not hug me or touch me. It just falls, and I really, really like that. But you learn how to sew on knits, you learn how to do this ready-to-wear neck binding, you learn how to put on the bottom band, you learn how to put on the sleeve and how to hem. And it's a start-to-finish video that's really quite comprehensive on how to make that top. All right, we have lots of Maison kits on sale this week. You get the fabric and you get the thread. The pattern is separate. The pattern is either digital or print, but we have 9 different color combinations, several solid colors, one in a black and white polka dot and one in a black and white stripe with the colorful sleeve. So take a look at that because we're putting all of those kits on sale. We have a few left of several colors. Not all the original ones that we had, but we've added some over the period of time, and we have lots. All right. Any questions, anything so far?
They want to see the back.
Oh, the back of the shirt? Okay.
Did you say what size?
Oh, that's one of the things I wanted to say. I made one size bigger than I normally do because I wanted that boyfriend oversized look. So this is a medium. I can also wear a small in it, and I've made a number of smalls, but this time I decided I wanted that larger look, and that's what I got. This fabric was really easy to, I'm going to show you more fabrics here in a minute, but this fabric was super easy to sew. You know, when we do these hems on the front, I think I'll put this little jacket back on this girl so I can talk about it a little bit more. I never really try to sew for speed, but I did sit down and sew this jacket in just not very much time. One Sunday afternoon, a week or so ago. So, without having all of the elements of a finished tailored jacket, this is a pretty easy jacket to get through. But one thing about this hem, and particularly on this fabric, we do a 3/8 inch stay stitch line from the raw edge, and that helps stabilize a fabric like this. Linen is a stable fabric, but these crumpled linens tend to stretch out just a little bit. So that helps stabilize the hem so that you can press that hem right over to the wrong side at 3/8 of an inch, and then when you're turning it again as you're sewing it, it's real stable. So that was one little thing I wanted to remind you of. Okay, sorry.
We did have a few more questions.
Okay.
How do you do a hip increase when there is no side seam?
Okay, well this seam right here, this diagonal seam, can be manipulated. So for instance, you could add to the front by adding a wedge on the front and add a wedge on the back. So consider this your side seam and work with it and increase it how much you need.
Is the shape slightly pegged?
It is a little bit pegged. Now when you look at the pattern, it's pretty straight up and down. But when it's on your body, and because of the construction of the sleeve, the design of the sleeve, I think it does have a pegged appearance to it. Wouldn't have to if you did your wedges. If you wanted to flare it, you could. You could also split a pattern, you know, in the front, or excuse me, in the back or the sides, and add width in that way as well. You could actually have a whole wedge in the back.
Okay, how would you adjust the pattern to reduce the bulk under the arms in the sleeve and the bodice area?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd have to look at the pattern. Sorry.
If you normally need a forward shoulder adjustment, would you need any adjustment on this jacket?
No. I don't think there are any shoulder adjustments necessary on this particular design.
Could you make the jacket in a narrow striped linen?
Oh yeah. Narrow striped linen on this jacket would be fantastic. We have lots of variations of this. We have some a cotton that's all over printed. We have knit, makes a great double knit jacket. Corduroy, wool, boucle, denim, linen. I'm sure we have more than that. We've made the Chicago jacket a lot.
How do you think the stripes would look? Like the direction of the stripes?
Well, the direction of the, if, you know, they'd be vertical. There'd be a little bit of a diagonal connection here. They'd be straight up and down throughout the whole back, and then that diagonal connection here.
So So you wouldn't necessarily have to match anything.
I don't know, if you wanted to be really, really, really fussy about it, you could match it right here, but this is a curve. I don't think I'd bother.
That'd be tricky.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
A couple other fitting questions. So you said there wouldn't be any shoulder adjustment, even for a slope shoulder.
Right.
What about a broad back adjustment?
You could do that if you wanted to. The broad back adjustment, you could pretend like there was a side seam right here. There's a connection under the sleeve and where this seam's come in, where this seam comes in, that would be the side seam. So you could cut out your wedge through there and do a broad back. But you know what? I find it a little hard to believe that on this jacket anyone would need a broad back adjustment.
There's a lot of room, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty roomy. I normally do a broad back adjustment on many of my garments, and there is no need for it on this jacket.
What about a high round back adjustment?
You could do that. You could do your measure down about 4 inches, come across, and then raise that wedge. Just do the same thing. Just because this is an angle doesn't change how you would do that. It's the same thing. You can see that this is swinging away even on this particular dress form. Now I could probably situate it differently, but this is the indicator when you need a round back adjustment, is when that's flying away from you at the back. But let's not get carried away about this. And I'm serious about this. This is a rumpled linen summer throw-on jacket. Don't try to overfit this. Make it one size bigger, throw it on, wear it. It's going to fit you. Perhaps in the hips for some people. You're going to need some increase. But in terms of shoulders and backs and all of that, I don't know. It's gonna be pretty fine on a lot of people.
And did you lengthen your jacket?
No, I did not lengthen it. It does look longer, doesn't it?
Yeah, they were saying it looked longer than the green.
Yeah,
jacket.
I think it's the size.
Is the green
the green's a small. This is a medium.
Okay. Yeah,
Because I did not do anything to either one of them.
She's sitting up a little higher.
Yeah,
than
maybe
you,
I need to raise my shoulders. Does that help? Here, does this help?
She's a little taller than you.
Yeah, okay.
Can you use this pattern to make a jacket out of a quilt?
Oh, this would be a great jacket for a quilt. Yeah, that whole cantha idea and quilting. You know, for those of you who are interested in clothing made out of quilts, be sure and check out Bode, B-O-D-E, their website. That's all they do, is one-of-a-kind clothing made out of quilts for men and women. It's a fantastic site. And if you do that, you can charge $8,000 for it.
Okay. I did have another fitting question. Do you
Okay,
want?
I can take a fitting question.
Okay. All right, actually two. If you end up with folds on the back by the shoulders, what adjustment needs to be made?
Folds in the back by the shoulders. I wonder where the folds are.
By the shoulders.
By the shoulders, folds. I'm not sure. This, you think?
Well, I think if they're making it, so if they end up with folds on the back by the shoulders, what adjustment needs to be made? So if they had it on a garment that they're making.
I know, but I don't know where they're talking about exactly.
In a garment like that, I don't know.
Can she be more specific with her question of where the folds are?
Okay, Barbara Hartzell, if you could give us a few more details. And then there was another question from Sherry. She made this in a heavier jacquard, and it had underarm bulk. Can you give her a solution?
In terms of the seam allowance?
On how to fix the bulk. I think she has too much bulk under the arm. How would she fix that?
Well, you know, there's a tendency for this jacket to have a lot of fabric here. That is the nature of this design. So if you don't like that look, I wouldn't make it. I mean, you can, probably pinch out, reduce the size of this opening a little bit, and then reduce the fullness of the sleeve. But that's what this jacket is all about. I would just choose another style that doesn't have that.
Okay, back to Barbara. She said right by the shoulders at the top. Almost looks like it could be a pleat.
Right here, right by the shoulders at the top.
That's where I would.
There's a pleat right there.
That makes sense.
Oh, hey Barbara, why don't you send me a photo? I'm not sure. It's almost like it must be coming out of this seam, and there must be some pleat right here. I don't know.
Do you think are their shoulders too narrow? I mean, would you? I don't know that
knowing Barbara, she is very small.
Maybe
probably making it extra small. Maybe it's just too big.
It is an oversized garment.
Yeah. Send me a picture.
Okay. Okay, that's what I see so far.
All right. Well, this linen is new to us. This is a new resource from a company that we have just started doing business with, and their fabrics are very, very fabulous in terms of quality, and they are the kinds of fabrics I've been looking for a long time. We've had lots of sources for linens, but they always come in very pristine and pressed and perfect and all of that, and the style is just different than that. So this is the first time I've ever been able to find these already super laundered linens. And so I'm going to show you the linens. And then I pulled out some solid knits of varying fibers to make a t-shirt or a top in some way, or even the jogger pants to go with this. I purposely chose something either sort of matching or tonal or in the realm of really in the same color family, except for one, because I couldn't find it. So let's start with our linens. So you can see they're super drapey. Now, even though this comes in laundered and rumpled, I washed it anyway, and it got it even a little softer. So you can wash this fabric easily, or I didn't find any shrinkage to it when I washed it. So if you're like me and you're lazy and you don't want to wash it first, you could do that as well. So we start at the bottom with this peach color, this almost salmon peach. Very interesting color. And then this is the color that I have on. Now, as you know, we're having trouble with iPhones and the color renditions that are coming through on Facebook Live and our videos as well. And the colors are a little bit brighter. So this, I think, is reading as fairly orange. It is orange, no question, but it is a softened, sort of washed out orange, and I would call it, it's called papaya, and I think that's a really good word for it. These fabrics look like you've owned them a long time, that you've loved them, you've worn them, you've washed them, and that's the look. This is a beautiful light avocado, almost citron green, my color. Can you believe I didn't make my jacket in this? And I didn't because I already had that one. You can only use so many citron jackets in your life. This is a beautiful mellow yellow. It's not a harsh yellow at all. All of these have this washed look to them. So they've been, the brightness of them has been reduced by the fact that they've been washed. This is a beautiful, almost chambray blue linen, chambray blue denim, but it's linen, of course. And then we have the mauve. So on this side are some knits that I chose to go with these. So with this peachy color, we have this kind of sandstone, light clay color. And this, I think, is all cotton. Let me check. Yes, cotton and spandex. There's nothing more comfortable than cotton, except viscose. They're both comfortable.
Or silk, or
Cottons are very comfortable. This is a very soft, peachy pink. It's what I have on that I think is a really interesting combination with this papaya color. Now this is viscose, and you always have a little more drape with the viscose. So if you need that lengthening, skinny look, then viscose is your friend, more so than cotton. And I like this color with the citron. Sunshine, I think we call it turmeric. Cotton knit, looks beautiful with the yellow. This is the color that I could not find. Well, I could actually. I found several blues that worked with this, but they were all dark. And I thought, it's summer. So there's nothing better than just a great white knit top or t-shirt to go with your denim blue jacket. Goes with everything. And then our hibiscus pink, which is rayon with our mauve. So it has that purple cast to it. It's a pink with quite a bit of purple in it. So those are the combos that I think are a have-to for summer.
Do you think these knits would make good pants?
Yes. Yes.
Like the Maison?
Yes, every one of them would make great Maison pants. I think they would make looser pants, something like Hudson's, Maisons. You're not going to want to make these, even though they have spandex in them. I think they're the wrong weight for things like helix pants that are slimmer, really tight. I think they would show a little too much. And I have too much to show too much of, so.
Do you think the linens would work for the Hudson poncho?
Oh yeah. These linens will work for the Hudson poncho that make great pants, full like West End pants, Hudson pants. Yeah, they don't have to, they're not just jacket weight. The poncho would be great in these. Yeah.
What about a dress? Would you use the
Make a
linens
great dress.
for a dress?
Yep. A tiered dress, a plain dress. We have a Memphis dress that you can use some wovens with. You could do partly knit and partly woven for a Memphis dress. You could do the new Edgewater dress in one of these and add a linen panel, the skirt as well.
What's the name of the blue linen?
The name of the blue linen is Dove. I see it as blue, but there's a fair amount of gray to it. It's definitely a grayed out blue.
Is the white a cotton knit with lycra, or what's the fiber on the white?
Yes, this is a cotton knit with lycra. 95% cotton, 5% spandex.
Did you interface your collar?
I meant to say that. Yes, I did, but I only interfaced the under collar. That I always do. And then there's that decision about whether I interface the upper collar or not. And because this was casual and rumpled and all of that, I did not want the upper collar to look different and more stable than the rest of the jacket. So I left the upper collar without interfacing. But I used our ultra sheer Japanese interfacing, my standard.
And is the blue, would that be considered like a cool color? There's a question about a cool color.
Well, I consider both of these cool
top
colors.
two. Mm-hmm.
This is a somewhat, I don't know, this would fall into the cool range. People who can wear cool colors could wear this color as well, don't you think?
And I think even the orange you have on is
Yeah.
actually, it has a nice kind of dark peach.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your traditional orange.
No,
color
it's
that
not orange. It's
Right.
a soft, there's got to be a word for that.
I don't think it looks good on a lot of skin tones, where some oranges maybe wouldn't, but I think this one would look good on a lot of
If you're a
different
jewel
skin
tone
tones.
person like Erin is, Erin looks good in this color.
I love that color.
Yeah. Erin wears teals and blues and burgundies and reds, and she could wear this.
We do have a couple questions about size, as far as the medium versus the small.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to just hold up the green one and compare it to the medium.
Well, there's 2 inches difference in our sizes. So from the medium, the small would be 2 inches smaller in the hips and the bust than this one. Maybe that's a better way to compare. Every size is from an extra small to a small, small to a medium, medium to a large.
2 inches.
2 inches. And then we shift to going 3 inches from large to extra large to XXL. That is our standard grading. So if you can picture this, pinched in an inch all the way around, that's a small.
And even the small, though, it's still an oversized.
Oh yeah, it's still oversized. I can get an extra small on. I can also wear a large. It's one of the, whatever size I used to work in the shoe business, and when I was in high school and college, and I made the decision, I made the determination that women could wear whatever size shoe they liked.
Depending on how comfortable they want to be?
No, it had nothing to do with comfort. If they liked the shoe and they got it on their foot, they bought it. It's a little bit like clothing, there's so many standards of fit. There are people who come in here at our So Kansas events and who drop in and try something on, and I'll say, you could probably wear a size larger, and they say, oh, I like this size. Great, that's what you like. It's what you're comfortable with. It's what you've worn, the standard of your fit that you've worn for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, this is the summer. As summer starts, we get all of these people traveling across the country who stop in. So if you're traveling, come see us. We love seeing you. We had someone yesterday who was they'd started on the East Coast, they went to the West Coast, and they were headed back, and they stopped in Kansas. So you never know.
We get that more than walk-ins from
True,
local
we get
people.
more of those than people from across the street.
Some people have trouble with where the collar meets the front, and I'm afraid that area might look messy. Do you have any tips?
That is a tricky, tricky area, no question. So that's what I practiced in this book. 1, 2, 3 times I practiced it. But let me see if I can get this to show you what this looks like. I think I'll just unstaple it and show it to you. So this is what this looks like on the inside. And at 1 inch in from this edge is where the collar attaches. So by that time, you need to taper that turn out to meet up with the raw edge. But for this 1 inch, you want it to be pretty even. So you have to hold your mouth right and just persevere and practice. So I have in my book 3 practice samples of it.
All right, if you could keep that nice and still, then it'll focus on it. There we go.
I'm not doing very still, am I? I'm here. Let me try this hand. Maybe that's a stiller hand.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm still shaky.
That's better.
That's
great.
Doing TV is very shaky. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's why I'm behind the camera. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. How do you recommend we finish the seams on this jacket?
I have done sewing and serging the seam together. So the seam gets pressed one direction, and it's sewn and then serge finish with a 3-thread stitch. My serger is just pretty much set up for a 3-thread stitch 99% of the time. Because that's what I use my serger for, which is sort of pathetic when you think about it. You buy a serger and then you use it to finish seams, but it's worth it because it's upped the game of my sewing, for sure.
Did you hand sew the outside hems at the lapels? I don't know if it is, did you or can you?
So the outside seams of the lapel?
Near the lapel.
the outside seam.
Outside hems on the lapels.
This hem right here.
I think
You can hand sew it. Sure, you can hand sew it. I did machine sew it, but you can hand sew it.
If you're having-
Or you could hand baste it first and then machine sew it. That's always a good idea.
Is the mauve called blush on your website, and does it read correctly on your monitor? Well,
I don't know what it's called because it's not tagged. So maybe Betsy can help with that.
Okay. Yeah, Betsy can provide a direct link.
Yeah. It's kind of a rose mauve color.
Dusty rose. Could you add length to make a coat?
Yes, I have done that several times. I've made one that's more of a knee length topper, and then I also made one full length for Alex in a gray ponte. I've shown that a time or two over the last couple of years, but to the ankle, and it's fantastic. Now, when I start adding length, even for topper length, but for sure for the long length, then I add that walking ease, which I've also talked about on Facebook Live, where you start at this point and then you create a wedge. And if you're, say, going to your ankle, by the time you get to the bottom, you want to have added about 2 inches at the bottom. That's a Sandra Betsina technique in her power sewing book. We have it, I think, I've talked about it. I don't know if we have it on a blog or not.
Yes,
I feel like we do.
We do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever left the collar off?
You know, I never have. You would need to create a facing, which is not a problem. That would help you at your front corner if you had a facing. I've never done it, but that's certainly an option.
How wide is the Japanese interfacing, and is it sold by the yard?
The Japanese interfacing is sold by the yard, and it is, I believe it's 36 inches wide.
I think so. It's narrow.
Yeah. We have it in black, natural, and white. And it literally is the only interfacing I use.
Do you have any difficult making a facing?
No. I mean, you would determine how wide you want your facing. Let's say at least 2 inches, if not more. So you would add a seam allowance to that. You would trace a line, let's say 2.5 inches, 2 inches from this seam line. You would add, if you're going to hem the bottom edge, you would add 1/4 inch or whatever, or you don't if you're going to serge it. And then you would add a seam allowance to the top. So you would trace that piece. Then you would come along the back piece and trace and draw a line from there. Now this back facing could have, you know, a deep shape to it. Just as a little aside, when I created the yoke on this, it's not a facing, but it certainly is the same concept, where I've just added a yoke. I wanted the inside of the jacket to look better when it wasn't on me, and it also stabilizes this if you're using a fabric that, you know, may stretch out. You might want to stabilize it with another fabric. So it's a little bit the same thing. You would measure down from this seam line, connect it to that, and then you have a little bit of something to fill in here. So there's a little bit of work to it, but you know, drawing a facing is just a matter of using your pattern pieces and determining widths and draw it on your previous pattern pieces, and then trace over that to make your separate facing pieces.
Do you think having a facing would eliminate some of the folds we were talking about previously in the back?
I don't think that has anything to do with anything. I don't know what that's all about.
Any hints on what the project is going to be for So Confident in July? And earlier you had talked about it, but you said August. So
July is. Did I say August?
You said August.
I'm
so
sorry.
You want to maybe clarify?
Yeah.
The project.
So we have a blouse coming in July, and it's a really interesting asymmetric, has a drape to it, great collar. You'll see it. And then in August is your bonus month, and there will be a new set of kits in a different set of fabrics. And Betsy is going to do the August class, and she's going to give you a really interesting topic to think about for August. And then just to give you a little bit of a clue about the rest of the year, September is pants, October is a cardigan, almost sweater-like cardigan, and November is a raincoat, all new pattern, and December is our wrap-up party where we show it all.
You think you could do the Chicago jacket out of a Melton?
Out of a what now?
Melton, like a wool Melton?
Yes, you could do the Chicago out of a Melton.
Does the Japanese interfacing ever go on sale?
I'll tell you what, we don't put the Japanese interfacing on sale very often. We had one sale in the last couple of years on it. There's a reason. The Japanese yen exchange rate is pretty horrible right now, and we are not marking that up even as much as we should. So I think as expensive as it is, it's still less expensive than a normal retail on it. So we just don't. I'm sorry. We wait on this interfacing for a long time. It takes forever to get. We order huge quantities of it and just cross our fingers that we don't run out before we get another shipment.
Okay, I'm just looking through to see if I missed anything.
I think I can remember, I think we have had to raise the price 3 times on that interfacing in the last 2 or 3 years. If I could find a more, I've looked at all kinds of interfacings from the industry. There are lots of people who are selling interfacings. And honestly, I've tried them all. I shouldn't say all, but I've tried a lot of them, and this is the only one that I really like, and I guess I'm just willing to spend the money to do it because it's so great. And the other ones just fail me for whatever reason. They either bubble or they don't stay on, or they're so slinky that you can't even touch them. You know, the hangnails on your fingers stick to them, and they're hard to cut, or all kinds of reasons. This one just seems to fit the bill.
Okay, I don't see anything else.
All right. Well, we have some things on sale for the next week. We have all of these fabrics, 6 linens and 6 knits. We have the Chicago jacket pattern, which is a print pattern, on sale. The Maison pattern, which is print and digital, is on sale. We have 9 Maison top kits in various colors, and 2 tutorials. The Maison top workshop, which is making the Maison top start to finish, and the denim Chicago jacket, which is how to change. There really isn't much of a change here. It's just using the pattern pieces that are included in the pattern and using them in a different way. This pocket, which would normally be on the inside, is on the outside, so I'm not creating new pattern pieces. It's just fabrication and how to make this band, which is an addition to the pattern. So,
we have a couple other questions.
okay.
One was, would you be willing to share your bust measurements so they can figure out a size for the jacket?
Well, my bust measurement is 37.
Okay. And then there was one other question about the interfacing. Is it woven and does it have a grain line?
The Japanese ultra sheer interfacing is not woven, it's a tricot, so it doesn't have a grain. So you can use it, I use it both lengthwise and crosswise. I even use it on the bias sometimes. I use every little scrap and bit of it and save my scraps as well. So.
And another question about your size. Also, would you, like, what would you make or what would you buy in a dress or a tailored shirt? Like if just ready to wear.
In a tailored shirt, I haven't tried on a tailored shirt in a long time, but I would assume I'd be in the neighborhood of a 10.
Really?
No?
It seems smaller than that, but
Well, I think it depends. There's such a range of sizes. I could go to the mall and try on 8s, and I could order from who makes tailored shirts, Paul Smith, and order a 10, and it might be too small. You know, high design versus average ready to wear, 8 to 10.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Many independent pattern companies are extending their pattern sizes to 5X. When you go from paper to print, would you consider extending your pattern sizes?
We have had lots of discussions about this. The only pattern that we have that goes to 5X is our Valencia pants. And the plus size pattern sizes were produced by a woman who specialized in plus sizing, which is a different shape. It's not just about continuing the grading out. It changes, the whole shape changes. We are not experts in that. We don't happen to have anybody currently who is on our staff or who we work with who understands plus sizing, so that is not on our radar right now.
The Maison runs very large. Do you recommend using a smaller size or cutting it down?
You can make a smaller size if you want to. It's meant to be an oversized, large shirt. I have on a medium today. This one I believe is a small on the dress form. I think that's your personal preference. If you don't like how big it is, you can make a smaller size, I'm sure.
Okay, that's all I see.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.